Are you a female entrepreneur who feels stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure how to move forward? The Life Coaching for Business Builders program helps you harness your inner power, build your authentic platform, and chart a clear path to business success. You don't have to do this alone. Together, we'll create strategies, structure, and accountability to help you boss up in life and business. It's time to claim your power and make your business dreams a reality. Well, welcome to Boss Business Strategies. I am Dr. Marcea Whitaker, your life and business architect, and I help female entrepreneurs who are in the business building process to go from struggling to get noticed to becoming impossible to ignore. This is the show where millionaires reveal the strategy behind their $1 million moments, because success leaves clues. Every breakthrough, every major contract, every pivotal decision, and every extraordinary outcome has a story behind it. Here we go beyond the headlines to uncover the mindset, the strategy, the leadership, and the lessons that created success and the businesses built to sustain it. Today we're talking about risk. Not the kind people casually discuss, but the kind that stretches you, the kind that demands courage, the kind that requires you to move when everything inside says stay where you are. My guest today understands risk at a level most people never will. She didn't just study it, she lived it. And when I heard her at the MBE night in Annapolis, I heard her share her experience of jumping out of airplanes. I immediately thought, that's just not an experience, that's a leadership philosophy. And so today I'm honored to introduce Diedre Windsor. Diedre is a retired U.S. Army officer, former senior executive service leader in the federal government, and the founder and CEO of Windsor Group, LLC, a multi-million-dollar government contracting firm recognized among the fastest growing companies in America. She has built an extraordinary career leading in high-stakes environments where decisions matter, execution is critical, and excellence is expected. And what I admire most is that she didn't just simply transition careers, she transformed her leadership. And so today she continues to influence, to inspire, to elevate others while building a legacy that extends far beyond a business. Diedre, welcome to Boss Business Strategies. Diedre, welcome to Boss Business Strategies. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Dr. Marcea. It's so great to be here with you today.
Look, it is so great to be here with you. You have opened up your office, and we are here on site. We're in Bethesda, Maryland, for those that are listening. And as I mentioned in the opening, that I heard you speak at the MBE night in Annapolis, and which stands for Minority Business Enterprise. And when I heard you speak about you jumping out of airplanes, I was astonished, I was amazed, but I believe this is how you have lived your life. Can you share with us how the jump out of airplanes philosophy, how that has translated into how you do business?
Oh, well, it's funny that you would ask that question. It's funny because we went over some questions. That wasn't one of them. And that's good because it reminds me that back when I was in the Army, one of the things about it, when I was in the Army, I was back in the late 80s, and to get promoted, you had to have so many promotion points. And for me, I was like, I'm going to do whatever to get promotion points. And somebody said, well, if you're airborne, you get points. But if you're airborne and you go to an airborne unit where you're jumping out of planes like the 82nd Airborne Division, I said, say less. Give me all the things because I need all the points so I can get promoted fast. And so I did it for promotion reasons, and it just ended up being such an instrumental part of my life. But I have lived that way. I'm going to do whatever the thing is to get me over the hump to get to the next thing. And sometimes those are very hard things.
Very hard things. Yeah. And so let's talk about that. How do you make your body do something that doesn't feel natural, that doesn't feel normal?
It's funny. That doesn't feel normal, but also I think the stressors caused by letting things worry you that don't come to fruition the way you want them to. So for me, I think doing that extra thing or that thing that people don't want to do is natural because it's like I can do the hard thing, or I can do what a lot of people do. It's like, I'm gonna bid on these contracts. I know I'm gonna win these contracts. See, I don't believe that. I don't not believe, because I fully believe in myself. But I believe you can lose any contract. You can have a contract and lose it. You can bid on a contract and not win it. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, I don't put my eggs in one basket. So it's like I'm always willing to do the thing that gets me over the gate, over the fence. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I think we get caught up sometimes in, oh, we bid on these 3 things and we didn't win. Most of the time, I don't even know. Don't get me wrong. If it's something major, there are major projects that we all go after. Like, I'm a government contractor. Windsor Group is a government contracting firm. We're like 100% government contracting. Matter of fact, until recently, we were 100% prime. We were like 98% prime. We had one subcontract. That's what I'm saying. Like, I believe that sometimes people get stressed out because they bid on that one thing and they don't win it. I don't even think about it. Like, we bid on a thing, we feel confident about it, and then we move on and go to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to the thing about, well, how do you fix your body? How do you prepare your body?
Yeah.
I think when you get yourself really, stuck on, you can really stress yourself out by putting your eggs in one basket that way, or 1 or 2, whatever. But a lot of people, they're like, oh, I bid at this agency, and we go there, we build relationships, and we win work or we don't win work. Like, I just don't. I'm more of a, let's do something great and sell it to a bunch of people.
I love that.
A bunch of different people. And if these people over here don't want it, guess what? These people over here do. Like, for me, I come from DOD because I'm military, right? So most people that come out of the military environment, they think, oh, what I know is DOD. So guess what they do? They go back to DOD. You know, the problem is, it's very hard. It's very incestuous at DOD, and so it's like, it's very good old boy. You know what I'm saying? Probably not as much as it was like 20 or 30 years ago, but it is like, who knows you? And I'm more of the mindset, like, who do you make yourself known to? Like so some people, who do you know? Like, I'm gonna go over there and knock on the doors and get to meet as many people as possible, and I'm saying, I'm going to reach out to these agencies, put our name in front of them, and see who bites. Yeah. And then see how we can build from there. So we built a lot of our relationships organically, gone and showed what good work we can do, and then we've been asked to come back and build within that agency. But then we're not like, oh, we're just sticking over there. We're trying to figure out how to do that in multiple agencies, which is why we've been in over 20 agencies as a prime vendor.
Now that's amazing. That's commendable. And I heard you say a couple of things. One, you said about relationship building. Yeah. And that is something I think that that's lost, right? We're looking to see what we can get from someone as opposed to developing a relationship and letting it kind of grow.
Exactly, organically. Right? Exactly.
And then the other thing when you said is not putting your eggs in one basket, and the same kind of process that you just went through is the same for what I do is I pitch myself for speaking events and training sessions, and so we go ahead and we click the button and go ahead and submit. But if you are so tied to getting that particular one,
that is the point I was trying to make.
That is going to cause you to have a whole lot of acid reflux moment.
Oh, absolutely! Like it's so spot on. I know that was kind of hard. That came out kind of crazy, but yeah, it's like I think I don't stress as much because I'm not saying we put it in and then forget it. Like there are some things that we're really tied to. We're like, oh, we want to win this vehicle because we know with that vehicle it will help us truly go in and build the type of business we're trying to build. Yeah. But by and large, we bid on the things we bid on. We only bid on things that we think we'll do a good job at, and then we move on. You know, so some of the stuff have come back and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like one of our main contracts right now was based on, it was totally organic. Is like we responded to a request for information from the government, they came back to us probably 6 months later and said, hey, can you give us an extension? We did an RFI. Then when the RFP came out, we got the RFP. They came back and said, can you extend your, the deadline for your proposal? We said yes. We waited patiently for them. So when it came, it was a nice surprise, but it was a really good opportunity for us.
Yeah. So you've been talking about contracts, and you bid and you said you were 100% prime. Now, I do know of at least one of your contracts that was a major contract.
Yes.
I mean, I think I heard in my ear it was like a $90 million contract.
No, the contract, our contract was $32 million.
Okay, $32 million.
But the contract for this entire project was $100 million. So it was called the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program, where we were given $2 billion in financial assistance to farmers and ranchers who had been discriminated against by USDA and USDA lending programs. And so our job was to go out. So we were responsible for the entire East Coast, everything of the east of the Mississippi River, including Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. We had pop-up offices. We opened like 21 offices in 45 days, if you can believe it. It was so insane.
Gosh.
But we relied on our partners to help us, because one of our partners, she really wanted to be on this project. She said, this is historical. I really want to be a part of it. And I applaud her, and I often tell this story about her because she is an example of when they say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I just remember talking to her one day. She kept calling, because she was a regular partner. We were already a joint venture partners. And she would call and say, hey, let me know if you need me to do anything. So one day, she's on a cruise. She calls me, we're talking, she's on a cruise, and I said, well, if you really want to help, what I need is an office in Virginia. And she's like, I'm going to call you right back. She called me back 30 minutes later, had found an office, and she said, if you want to send me the position description, I'll go ahead and get some outreach people. So to me, that's being ready. But it made me realize, I said, that's how we get our offices quickly. And we did the same thing. So I called a friend in Chicago and I said, hey, we got this project. We really need to have an office in a good location where the farmers can come and park so they can get education on the application and then get some technical assistance and say less. So we were able to do that in probably 7 or 8 states, and then we did some pop-ups in some other states, but then we actually opened, called maybe WeWorks or something in different states, and then had people, hired people for those states. So,
that is amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And I'm going to touch on some of the awards that you've gotten for all of your work in a little bit, but I wanted to go back to when we met.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember, but I met you in a breakout room with WOO, Women Elevating Women.
Okay.
And that was my first time that I think you had done that session. You had given like a, they spotlight folks.
Oh, yeah.
Before the breakout rooms. And I want to shout out the CEO and founder, Betty Hines.
Yes,
hey,
Betty. We love Betty Hines. Betty is that woman.
Look, and she has been one of my first guests on Boss Business Strategies. And she is just a powerhouse in her field. But WOO has been very pivotal in bringing women together, helping them build. Yes. Tell me what you find is the strength of those types of organizations.
One is what you just said. They bring the women together, but they do more than just bring any women together. They bring women from diverse backgrounds, and I don't mean that in just race. I mean in terms of where they are in their business. Sometimes they bring smaller businesses to larger businesses. That whole network. Sometimes you get in. It's like you and I met in a breakout room, right? I've met people that I ended up doing contracts with just at a WOO event. Like I always talk about Sharon Morton from Black North Society. How she's at a WOO event speaking, and I just asked her, what do you do? And she says, I have a communications company. And I said, we have this major contract, and we really need to get this word out to farmers all over the East Coast. And she basically said, I got you. And really, in a couple of weeks, we were under contract, and she ended up getting us over 9 million impressions.
Wow.
Which helped us really. The program ended up getting like 58,000 applications, and over 78% of those came from the East Coast.
Nice.
And that was in part due to her communications strategy throughout the East Coast, specifically in the Mississippi Delta.
Nice. So it worked.
Yes,
right?
it 100%
Collaboration
worked.
and all the pillars that Betty has for Woo.
Yes, and one thing Betty says that I love when she says we must be our own capital, and that's a very good example of it. It's like all I needed to do was look for another woman-owned business, and she was able to come in and basically help us get to the finish line with that project.
Exactly. And the other thing that Betty says that helped give me clarity, when she said capital, she doesn't just mean money.
Yes.
It's the relationship
Exactly.
capital.
Exactly.
It is the resources.
Yes.
It's the information.
Exactly.
And the know-how that kind of goes into that. So,
can I share a quick story? Sure. So maybe last year, Betty introduced me to a young lady. Again, met her in a breakout room, Jade Simon. Yeah. So I met Jade Simon. She was telling me kind of the things she does. She's like, hey, I do this thing with the Microsoft tools, yada, yada, yada. And then because of that introduction, Betty's in another circle. So she made sure me and Jade were together in another circle. And then in January, we had to bring on 150 call center agents. And we were trying to figure out, and we were short people. Our HR director was out on medical. And I remembered meeting Jade. And Jade ended up changing my life, changing the life of my business, because Jade came in, because we were looking at, we're going to do a mail merge and all this other stuff. Clearly, we're not as automated as we should be in 2026, right? But when I called Jade, I said, isn't this what you do? And she's like, yeah, I can put together a workflow for you. And when I tell you that we were already short an HR person, then had just lost an HR person who left for another job. And it was like, it was really stressful because here we are trying to bring on 150 people and we're crippled in HR. And I'll tell you, Jade came and she created a tool basically where we were able to onboard 150. It was like she put in this workflow, we pushed a button, 150 people got a letter. The people that accepted it, they ended up getting a data sheet. They filled that out. Next thing you know, they're filling out their I-9. But everything was automated. So we went from being like, how in the world are we going to do this to, okay. It was so smooth. And I thought, wow. And sometimes it's in during your hardest times that you find this greatness. Because I think that sometimes when you're with your teams that you're used to being with, you generally do stuff the way you're used to doing it. And sometimes it's like, that magic only happens when there's adversity. And we were experiencing adversity, and then she just came in and bam, she smoothed it out for us. Yeah.
And that is what businesses are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to fill a void and make life better.
Yes.
So one of the things you touched on, the success.
Yes.
But I want to touch a little bit on some of the hard parts of doing business. And, I know that there are some connections that really work. But what are some of the connections that maybe fall apart while you are being successful in business?
I mean, sometimes you lose relationships. I mean, it's so funny because I think money just makes, what's that? There's so many cliches about money, but sometimes money makes you see another side of people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like to think, my mantra is make what you're going to make and let the next guy make the rest. So we're never greedy. We're always very, I tell folks all the time, when they bring us opportunities, hey, I'm going to get you as close to 49% as possible if this is one of those that's set aside and we have to do 51%. So we're never about squabbling about money. But I do think sometimes people have expectations. My thing is always, hey, listen, we can't do this thing because that's illegal. But what we can do is make you whole in another way by making sure that, we share other opportunities with you so that we can get you to where we're trying to get you. And it doesn't always work out that way. So it's just one of those tricky things. It's like it makes you sad sometimes. It can be heartbreaking. So.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've had more than one of those occurrences. Is because of that, is there a way that and I know you're trying to make people whole, if you will. Are there other ways that you kind of deal with those folks that are either greedy or those that kind of fall away from you?
I've had to learn because I'm such a nice person. My sister used to say when I was little, she used to say, "You're too darn friendly." And she's right. Like, she's like, "You're too friendly," and then sometimes I let stuff go longer than I should let it go. But I think I won't say business has hardened me, but it's probably made me a little harder than I was because I was probably super soft. Okay. Right. But I don't think I can ever be hardened because that's not who I am at my core. Yeah. But people will definitely make you say, okay, they will make you kind of look at things differently,
So let's talk about you mentioned that your sister said that you were too friendly.
Yeah.
Who was Diedre before the contracts, before jumping out of airplanes? What's the basis? What's the heart of who you are?
I grew up in Detroit. I have two sisters. Really? My mother was a single parent. I always tell people we had love. I probably didn't even realize that we were poor until I was grown. We just had a good time. I think about sometimes I think about my daughter, she's 21 now, but I think about the fact how my memories of my childhood is for some reason running down the street. Some of us on bikes, some of us on foot. And just always into something. So to me, it was not. I think sometimes when if your frame of reference is one thing, you don't have anything to base it against. Correct. I remember being in New York as an adult. I remember driving through Harlem in a cab. It was my friend and I remember seeing some people out front. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. They were playing cards. And I remember saying to my friend, I said, it's so funny how everybody's so happy. Like they're out, they're having a great time. And it's like maybe the reason I could recognize it because I felt like we, as just me growing up or just as people, at some point you move away from, okay, this is enough to make me happy to, it needs to be something else, whatever that is. But I just remember smiling, thinking, these folks are having a ball. They are having the time of their life. And I just remember, it reminded me of my childhood where we were just happy. We were none the wiser that we didn't have anything because we had love and we had each other, and that was enough.
You had the important things.
Exactly. Yeah. Then I joined the Army when I was young, and so I was in the Army. My first couple of years I was in Germany. Then I went to the 82nd Airborne Division. It's like 20,000 men in the 82nd Airborne Division, about 200 women at the time. Okay. So I felt like I did become a little hardened, trying to be like the guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna be tough like them. And then I just remember a friend of mine saying, "Dee, like sometimes you're such a," and I always tell people, I said, that kind of changed my life because it made me realize that I didn't need to be that way to get the outcomes that I wanted to get. And so I started living my life more. I often tell people, I said, to me, I defer, when it comes to leadership, I defer to influence over power because there is influence, there is power inherent in influence.
Okay, I need to start over again.
Yeah.
What is it that you defer to influence?
I defer to influence over power. Because the thing is, because power is do something because I told you to do it. And I believe that people only do that for so long. But when there's influence, that comes with a mutual respect. So I think about back when, I had people just in the government, when I had employees under me, I used to say to supervisors, because I used to do training with supervisors, I always say, when people respect you and respect your position, it's more likely that it's going to be easy for you to say to them, hey, listen, you didn't give me your best work, but hey, come back tomorrow and we're going to try it again. Because at the end of the day, you really do need people to come back, bring their whole self to work after you give them some kind of critique that maybe puts them on edge or maybe makes them feel a certain kind of way. But you need to be able to say those things and still get them to bring their full self back the next day because they want to. They want to do it for themselves and they want to do it for you, for the mission, for the team.
Yes, and the thing that I'm going to repeat what I said earlier is the way that you do that is that you have relationship
absolutely.
with them. And the first time that they're having a one-on-one conversation with you isn't when you're telling them.
Oh, are you reading my mind? Because that's what I used to tell folks. I said, the first time that you give somebody some bad news should not be, well, the first time you talk to somebody shouldn't be you giving them bad news.
Correct.
Especially if it's somebody who works for you. You need to understand who these people are, who work with you, who work for you. And it needs to be, because once you get that mutual respect, it's nothing they won't do for you. I love telling it. I used to say, I said, you know, you don't want to be the leader where, you know, you're walking to the elevator, the boss is coming and you hear them call your name and they're like, I'm going to the elevator. Like, you want to be the type of leader where people will say, hey, listen, I got to pick my kid up, but I'm going to call you from the car so you can let me know what you need so I can help you. I know I'm off. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because people don't have to stop. They don't have to give you anything. I say people can give you a little or a lot. How you treat them will determine what you get. And a good employee, they're going to always do their job because of who they are, not because of who you are. But a poorly treated good employee, you're not going to get the extra stuff from them. They're still going to do their job because guess what? They're a good employee.
Correct. And the other thing that they're also watching you. So they're not going to be very open to going above and beyond.
Yes, exactly.
You haven't gone above and beyond.
Exactly. If you hadn't shown them that same type of respect, you know?
Exactly. I love that. Yeah. So with that, you have been in the Army.
Yes.
Okay.
You were about to say the Air Force.
I did. Because I was thinking the airplane. Because the thing
but I was an air defense officer, a Patriot air defense officer.
Look, but it took me years, a lot of years to understand that there are airplanes in the Army. But there's also the Air Force. Right. Well, and there's airplanes in the Air Force.
Or you should you know what you should say? What? There are airplanes in the Air Force, but. So that's the Air Force, but there are also some airplanes in the Army, but it's the Army. It's really the soldiers.
Okay. I'm going to figure it out. Thanks for getting me straight. So you were in the Army. Yes. You were in the government, okay, in a supervisory role.
Right. I was a senior executive in the government.
Senior executive.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, like, that was not my dream. Like, my goal was not to be a senior executive service member. My job was converted to an SES position.
Got it.
But I didn't get my own job. And so I'm more of a I can show you better than I can tell you person. So then I ended up going to get an SES job. And I often tell people, I said, if I had gotten my job in the Army as an SES when it was converted, I would probably, not in the Army, but at the Department of Education, that's where I work, I would probably still be there.
Got it.
But because my job was converted to an SES and I did not get my own job, and people were like, you should sue them. And I was like, I'm not trying to have a heart attack. Let me just go find an SES position. And I used to say, I feel like I am living somebody else's dream. It was not my dream to be a member of the Senior Executive Service Corps. However, I was put in a position where I could have stayed there and worked for someone who took a job that I was doing for 3 years, somebody junior, or I could just, you know, like I said, I can show you better than I can tell you. We're not going to argue about this. I'm just going to move on.
So in addition to that, you also started your own company, your own business that's thriving. What is the common thread in those three roles that you have had and still have? I guess from a leadership perspective, from a global perspective. What do you think?
I think it is leadership. I think for as a military person, I often say the biggest thing we have that's transferable is our leadership skills, and so that's the thing that's allowed me to move from the Army to the federal government and now on to my own business, is that understanding the importance of it, and just being able to translate that to something that that's what worked for me. Like that's the thing that I don't have any technical skill. I know how to do a lot of stuff. I got a lot of common sense, but I don't have any hardcore technical skills. But what I have in spades, I believe, is leadership skills. And I believe that you can take that anywhere. You can land anywhere with that.
Love that.
And I understand the human dynamic. I understand people. And I do think that with leadership, that's at its core. That's the thing. You got to understand the human dynamic because if you don't understand humans or people, it'll be very hard for you to lead successfully.
Yeah, I remember hearing a story where you transitioned from the government into your own business. I think was it Veterans Day that you left?
Veterans Day. Yeah.
What risk did you take by stepping out? What did that cost you?
A lot, because I didn't have any money. I was like, and it's funny because I was in the government when I joined the government it was like 2010. I retired from the Army in 2009. At the end of 2009, I took I think my last day in the Army was August 31st. But I took a job because, you have that time where you're on what's called terminal leave. So I took a job working for a federal, I think the Army Surgeon General office, because somebody I used to know worked there. Matter of fact, I used to work for when I was in the Army, worked there and saw my name on a hiring certificate. It's like, oh, do you really want that? So I took the job. I stayed there like 4 months, but psychologically I wasn't ready to really be working, and that's just how it is. Sometimes when you leave the military, you've lived this structured life for so long, and so it's like, I'm gonna do this, and you need the money, but then I just couldn't. I was not ready, and I ended up quitting after 4 months. And I thought, oh, I'll take a couple of months off and then get another job, and I was out of work for 10 months from the end of 2009 to 2010, and so. When I went to the government, when I was out that 10 months, I went and got an EIN, and I was like, I'm going to start my business. And so that's another part of my story. It's like a dream deferred is not a dream denied. I got an EIN in 2010, but I started my business in earnest in 2017 after working in the government for 6 years. So
folks need to hear that. Sometimes it isn't right away.
Exactly, because I was not ready. And crazy, like I had this great job. I was a deputy director in Justice. That's a big thing. Department of Justice, that's a big thing. I said, but it was such a crazy, it was a great job, but it was also kind of just a little crazy. And I remember saying, if I'm going to work this hard, I could probably do this on my own. I'll work this hard on my own, because it's kind of, that's probably a whole book by itself, that little 13 months that I worked there. So one day I just went to work, and I was having the craziest meeting you can have with your boss in your life, right? I was having this insane meeting, right? And I swear, the meeting started at 8:30. And I remember getting up at 8:43. I looked at the watch. It was 8:43. And I got up and I said, I'm so sorry this didn't work out. And I think my boss probably thought I meant that meeting, but I meant this job. So I went in my office, and it was no random, August 3rd, 2016. It was so random. And I remember calling, a friend of mine had come to work with me over at Justice, and I remember calling her. I went to the office. I said, I think I'm going to quit. And she was like, wait till I get to work.
Right, it's too early for that.
She said, wait a minute. And I don't know what she said, but by the time she got there, I had done the termination, and I was like, I'm going to be leaving. And I told my boss, I was like, I'll let you know when I'm gonna leave. And because there were some things going on, and I was like, well, he can't really afford to be having a problem with me. He already got problems with other people. So I knew that he could not fire me, because sometimes you resign and people will force you to leave that day. I stayed there 100 days until Veterans Day, and I left the day before Veterans Day in 2016. Wow. I quit on August 3rd. Wow. And when I tell you, it was such a relief. It was like the weight on my shoulders. It was like I had this stress, because I used to be in my office like, man, if I die in here, will somebody know? Like, it was so stressful. That job was so crazy. And it was really because this guy was so uptight and just like, take a chill pill. you know.
So that was the beginning
Yeah.
of the business.
Yeah.
And
then I went and took a job as a secretary for a
Really?
GS15.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a crazy part of my story. And so I always tell people, I said, don't be afraid to roll your sleeves up, because I bid on a contract. So I left on Veterans Day, the beginning of 2017. I just started writing contract, like I was writing little basic proposals. I didn't care. I was like just
Getting it
shooting
out.
stuff out. And then one day I got a call, and they were like, hey, you won this contract. I said, oh yeah, I'm gonna send you a resume over. And they were like, no, you already sent your resume. It's a personal services contract, so whoever's resume. So it's like me. So I'm going from a senior executive to working for a GS15 as a secretary. And I didn't care. And the guy who I was working for, I think he was wondering like, why are you here? And I was like, this is a prime contract to me. I don't care. I can do this working my slate. And I did. So I was trying to do my business and working there because it was so easy for me. And I stayed there for about 4 months, and I think they ran out of funding. And it's funny because they're still my client today, not through all of that time. Like a couple of years I left, and then I came back, and we ended up winning a small direct award from them. And then later we ended up competing and ended up winning an $8 million contract with them, like down the line.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Look, so that's I don't even know where to go from there. But those were the beginnings of the business. And I want to read a few of the accolades and accomplishments. Okay. You just were one of the 50 women to know of Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. So are you?
No.
But you were before.
So I was the 100 women
To know in America.
Yes. Honorable mention.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And I just saw this the other day. The top corporate philanthropist for consecutive years.
Yes.
Congratulations on that. Right. Enterprising Women of the Year Award.
Yes.
All right. Maryland's top 100 women. Inc. 5000 list for the fastest growing private companies.
5 years in a row.
Five years in a row. You were ranked 17 on the VET 100 list of fastest growing veteran-owned businesses.
And we were on the VET 100 for 4 years in a row.
4 years.
Yeah.
The Greater Washington's fastest growing companies.
2 years, 2023 and 24, I think, or 24 and 25.
And ranked number 5 on the Women Presidents Organization, WPO, as we call it, the 50 fastest growing women-owned and women-led companies list. Now, that's just the ones that I could just easily find. Which one or which ones means the most or had the greatest impact, or however you want to take that?
I would probably say the award. First of all, the Corporate Philanthropist Award always means a lot to us because I like for people to know that we do good and then we give back. We make sure that we are giving back to our community in a meaningful way. So that's always top tier. Because we're able to help the nonprofit organizations that bridge the gap between what the government provides and what is actually the need. And so I love that we support organizations like CODA Support Foundation, Women Elevating Women, Women Veterans Interactive Foundation, Veterans Institute for Procurement. So we love those. But I will tell you that probably the awards that kind of touched me the most was being the distinguished alumni for my university, Methodist University. So that's kind of stunned me because these are not things that you apply for. You just... you apply for Inc. 5000, but VET 100 comes from the Inc. 5000, and then the 50 fastest, you apply for those things, and your numbers have to make sense, right? But being the distinguished alumni for my university was a big deal. It totally stunned me. And then 1 year I was the entrepreneur. I won the Entrepreneurial Leadership Award for BEA, which used to be Black Engineer of the Year Award. Now they changed it to Be Everything You Can Be or something like that because of all the diversity things. So those awards where people are watching you and you don't even realize that they're watching you. Yes. Those are the awards that get me because it's like, wait a minute, what? Right. And it's not like, oh, I know these 5 people, so put all of the. It's not that. It's like for my university, which is, it's a university outside of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where I went to college after I left the Army. I went green to gold. I left the enlisted ranks to become an officer. So I went to college right there. But just the fact that they were monitoring what I was doing, that kind of stunned me. So yeah, that award always is the one
Yeah, so you don't know when you're on other people's radar.
Exactly.
And so when those kind of awards come, it makes you say, wow, someone really is seeing.
Yeah, that award and the Bea Award both stunned me, because that meant somebody or a group of somebodies were in the background making moves on your behalf because they felt like this was warranted. Like this was, this is some honor that they wanted to bestow upon you. So those were pretty remarkable to me.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I love when I am speaking to folks, to millionaires, it wasn't overnight.
Yeah.
And I love to go back to say, okay, I call it the $1 million moment. What was the thought process? What was the pivot, the shift that created the $1 million moment in your life?
Well, I think in business, it's really, you really gotta have, I don't want to say no fear, because we all have fear, but you gotta be willing to do that thing to get to the next level. Because I can tell you, I could probably name 10 companies in quick succession that would not have taken that contract that we won, because that was a very hard contract. It was the hardest work that we've ever done. I won't even just some of the things that we had to deal with, considering the contract that we were on, that stuff we still had to deal with, And so it's like it was hard work every day, all day. But I just know, because people put limitations on themselves. I think most of the times, a lot of people who don't succeed is more because they're limiting themselves. And I always say, you got to believe in yourself. You cannot be your own biggest doubter. You got to be your own biggest supporter. And so sometimes we'll say, I remember going for a GS-15 position when I was in the government, and a young lady who I still actually work with today. And it's funny because I remember her saying, we were both going after this GS-15 position, and she was like, yeah, you were probably better fit for that. And I said, no, we're both. I said, as a matter of fact, I said, what I lack in this area, you have in spades. You've been working in the government for 30-something years. Don't ever believe that anybody here is better than you are. You know what I'm saying? You've brought yourself to this point. But that's what I realized. Just being a senior in SES in the government, what you realize is that a lot of people want to be in SES, but a lot of people won't apply for an SES position. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you gotta play to win. You cannot win if you don't play. So if you don't bid on the contract,
you'll never get it.
You never get it. Right. Yeah.
So the thing I just heard, you said a similar response when I asked you about jumping out of airplanes. Right? And so that is a common thread that is still showing up.
I just do it. I'm really not like Nike was on to something with that. Right. Just do it.
Just do it.
Like, do the thing, whatever it is. Okay. Write the book. You know what I'm saying? I actually wrote a book in 2015. It's called Leadership Begins with Hello. And it's funny because it took me years to write this book. It's only 45 pages, so I chuckle about it sometimes. It's like 45 pages, right? But it's funny that there's a general who retired who ended up being like, he's a very high-ranking guy. He was in the Senate as one of the, anyway. I just think about him because we talked, when I met him, it was at an event, I was on a panel, and he was high-ranking in the DEA, and he was high-ranking in the Army still. And it's funny because he's like, he calls me Airborne. He says, hey, Airborne, how did you, he said, I'm impressed that you wrote this book. And I was like, it's so funny. It took me 3 years. I said, but it's only 45 pages, right? So we chuckled. He said, but you wrote it. And it's out. And people are using it. And he's like, that's very bold to just take that step. And it's funny because I think the thing that made me go ahead and publish it is because my best friend was dying of cancer, and when she got diagnosed in 2015, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. She ended up living 3 more years, but I was determined at that point. I said, we're publishing. I had a ghostwriter. We didn't have any ChatGPT, which is why it's probably 45 pages, right? Because it would be much longer if we had ChatGPT. I just had a ghostwriter, and I was like, I'm gonna finish writing my stories because I wrote the stories, but she made it sound like a book. But then when Trudy got sick, I was like, I'm gonna dedicate my book, and that's what I did. I dedicated the book to Trudy. Like, I swear, she got diagnosed. It was August the 18th of 2015, and I published the book by that November. Like when I was going between the jobs when I left education, I was going to be a senior executive, and I know you're kind of restricted on a lot of things in the government. So I said, I'm going to publish this book while I'm in transit, like while I'm on leave, and that's what I did. And I published it, dedicated it to her, and so it happened really quick. And I always said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to, kind of redo it, edit it, update it, do the things I never did. And I probably still will, but you see, it just happened. It was like I just made the decision. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a final question to speak to those entrepreneurs who are maybe on the fence, who are maybe conflicted. But before you do that, what is it that you said to yourself right before you jumped out of an airplane?
Well, I was always scared.
No.
Every time. And I'm scared of heights. Yeah, like I'm still, right? I am very,
How did that happen?
Yeah, I am. Like, I'm not like, I don't even like flying anymore. Right now, right? It's crazy though, right now. So right now it's kind of crazy. Like, it's so much stuff happening. You're like, okay.
Really?
But what did I say? All my jumps were night jumps. That means my eyes were always closed. Even in the daytime, it's like, I was like this, Lord, just get me to the ground safely, yes.
Did you have was it fun at all?
Oh, it was probably fun. Once you're in the air and your chute opens, you're like, hallelujah. Okay. The only thing that can happen to me now is probably breaking my leg.
Okay. All right, so speak to those entrepreneurs that are on the fence, that are afraid, that are standing on the edge of something big. What do you say to them?
I just always say, do the thing. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it is really, you got to do that thing that you want to do. You got to recognize, too, that all of us have something that we do better than someone else. I think sometimes we take for granted the things that we know, right? So we just assume because we know how to do it, everybody knows how to do it. I often think about, I was in Bubbles one day getting my hair done. So there's a young man at the desk, and I go to the desk to pay to leave. And I said, hey, do you know how to make a reel on Instagram? He goes, yeah. I said, can you put these pictures to this music? So he takes about 20 minutes, and I was like, and make it go da 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 da. And then he did that, and it was beautiful. And I was like, thank you so much. And I said, I'm going to pay you. And he was like, no, don't give me any money. I was going to give him like $20. And I said, well, go find 10 people like me who don't know how to do this, and these are your clients. I said, all of us have something that we can monetize. Now, I'm not saying, oh, go quit your job and start this and you're going to do great, because I don't know how you're going to do. Because some of where we land has to do more about our drive and our belief in ourselves. So I would say, believe in yourself. Believe in that thing that you know. Don't take for granted that what you know, everybody knows, because it's not true. And recognize that and obviously, I'm retired military, so I get a pension, so I'm never really starting from zero. So I'm very mindful of letting people know that, because you can easily be out here for like, man, you can beat Mike Tyson. Okay, don't get punched in the face. Like, really, don't quit your job without anything to fall back on. That's my fallback, is my pension. But at the same time, I think I think Jamie Foxx said it. Jamie Foxx said, somebody said the worst thing that can happen is you leave this earth with your talent without having lived to your full potential. So do the thing. Start the business. Sometimes we got to figure out, and this is for people like transitioning from the military. When you leave the military, I always say to people, listen, figure out, are you trying to have another career? Or you trying to just make some money so you can do really what you want to do, so you can do whatever it is your life's work. Because sometimes it's like, okay, so if you really trying to do something else, but you still need money to fund that, then get you a job that you could do in your sleep. Okay? You know, make sure it's paying what you need to pay and it's not adding extra stress to your life, so that you can have yourself freed up after work for a couple of hours to do that thing that you want to do. That could be vlogging, that could be secret shopping, whatever it is people do. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the thing is, don't be afraid. You just got to do it.
We got to talk about the secret shopping.
Yeah. You know how they go out and like, or like, there's a lady that I follow. She's so funny. She's a comedian, and she's like, come with me to the farmer's market. But then she has her dialogue. She's really talking about serious stuff, but she's kind of talking about it under the guise of this.
Got it.
I'm going to the farmer's market.
Yeah. No, I like that. Well, thank you so much for being here and opening up your office and the vault, the thought vault, if you will. And very interesting story. So again, don't go away.
I'm not going anywhere.
We're going to close this show out, and you know, we'll. How can folks get a hold of you if they need government work?
Well, they can reach me on. So you can go to Windsor Group LLC on Instagram. And you can send me a note there, or you can go to my page, but it's not as easy because it's d.l.windsor, or maybe it's like DL. It's not like Diedre Windsor. It's like d.l.
We're gonna put it in the show notes so you can get to it. But thank you again.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. This has been great. I didn't know we were gonna laugh so much. I love it. I love laughing. Anyway, but thank you so much, Dr. Marcea. I appreciate it. I appreciate all that you do. Really giving business owners, women business owners, this visibility. And I don't know if it's just women business owners. It is boss, because it's boss ladies.
It's women.
Yeah. Anyway, but thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome.
Diedre, thank you for sharing your story, your leadership lessons, and the strategies behind your success. Your journey reminds us that growth requires courage, leadership requires discipline, and success requires a willingness to take the leap when others hesitate. Thank you for joining us on Boss Business Strategies, and thank you to our audience for tuning in. Until next time, remember, success leaves clues. Learn the strategy, apply the lessons, and build your own $1 million a moment. Please follow Boss Business Strategies on YouTube, as well as on iTunes and Spotify, and on OnStagePlus TV. You can also contact me at info@drmarcea.com. I'll see you next time. Take care.